So much for the bye week. It is over. Tennessee, LSU, in a premier matchup this weekend that Josh Heupel just talked about on his press conference. Let's break down some of his comments. Check out offthehooksports.com for more coverage. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Also, our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. We greatly appreciate that. So let's get to the big news, and that was confirmation by Josh Heupel that Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman did undergo what is known as the tightrope surgery, Caleb, and that no real update as to the timeline, but this surgery is done most oftentimes to expedite a return. So could we see Cedric Tillman at the LSU game? Perhaps. It usually takes about a month. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him for LSU. I think the biggest reason we're not going to see him for LSU is because of what we saw 2 weeks ago at Florida. I think Tennessee is deep enough at receiver right now, and LSU plays a lot of press man coverage, which is kind of a recipe for disaster when you're going up against Brew McCoy or Mel Keaton. I'm not so sure that any cornerback can just play press man one-on-one coverage on Brew McCoy right now.
Yeah, and Josh Heupel mentioned that, and he said that LSU will mix up their coverages, but certainly got that press coverage worked in there, and that is what they like to do. And you're right; I thought the very same thing. That is going to be an incredible challenge for LSU's defensive backs. Who this is not LSU DBU anymore. I mean, they are good, but they are not great. They are not incredible at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're only, I guess technically you could talk about they're only giving up 185 yards a game or just under 7 yards an attempt, but who have they played outside of Florida State that actually can really throw the ball? And they gave up 260 yards to Florida State through the air. And so I'm not high on LSU's DBs right now. I'm sorry. First of all, I apologize to everybody who listens to this show. I got everything wrong on my locks last weekend with
That's
talking with
okay.
on Friday. But one of them I thought was Auburn, and everybody's now giving LSU credit for how their defense played on Auburn. But Auburn's offense is still awful. I don't care how close they played LSU; their offense is terrible. So that's not really a good barometer.
Well, that leads me to LSU's defensive backs had all kinds of busts in the secondary. If you watch much of that game, along those lines, the injury lines, I should say, Warren Burrell out for the season. How big of a blow is that for Tennessee?
So as we've talked all year, Tennessee doesn't have a number one cornerback. They haven't since the start of the season. I don't think they're going to find one. We've talked at length that I don't think anybody's there. I think Warren Burrell was the only guy who knew the system enough to be able to handle some of the things that come with it. And you saw that 2 weeks ago against Florida, where I don't think they would have been as bad with Warren Burrell. So I do think this is a huge problem with Warren Burrell out. I'm not so sure for this game because I am going to take the other side for a minute. I know we talked at length 2 weeks ago about gap integrity versus Anthony Richardson. And that's one of the reasons he torched Tennessee through the air was because they were just trying to stop him from scrambling that much. Heupel, I don't really believe him. He said that, you can take some things from that for the LSU game. I think Jaden Daniels, yes, he's mobile, but it's a different type of mobility. He can't read blitzes the way Anthony Richardson could. I mean, LSU has given up 16 sacks on the year already. That's a horrible number. So I think Tennessee has a lot more freedom to bring a lot of pressure on Jaden Daniels and particularly since he got his knee hurt on Saturday, they have a lot more freedom to bring pressure to him that they didn't have against Anthony Richardson.
It's a great point. He also is a different kind of runner. He is faster. Now, we don't know about the knee, but he is faster than Anthony Richardson. And ultimately, Tennessee is going to have gap integrity. I don't know that it's quite as important as you alluded to, maybe as in the Florida game. And I think they can bring a little bit more pressure, but still, you don't want him to beat you. You want to make sure he's in front of you. Some other notes from Josh Heupel's press conference is we mentioned Tillman. He also mentioned that as far as Brian Kelly, he hasn't met him, but it's always a well-coached team. I think that's true. I think fundamentally, for the most part, now he's undergoing a complete transformation of a program, but I think as the season goes on, you're going to see a well-coached team. He just never had the talent that he needed to win a national championship at Notre Dame.
I agree. I said 13, 14 years ago, I was super high on Tennessee trying to hire Brian Kelly over Lane Kiffin when he was being interviewed. When that first coaching starts happened, Mike Hamilton went for Lane Kiffin. Brian Kelly went undefeated at Cincinnati the next year. By the time Lane Kiffin bolted for USC, he had already taken the job at Notre Dame. But who knows what would have happened if Tennessee hired Brian Kelly in 2009. I've always been very, very high on him, and I think Tennessee is, and I think I've talked about this all year. Tennessee's getting the greatest luck of the draw to face LSU in Death Valley this year. They don't always face LSU in Death Valley, but they're getting them at noon this year, and they're getting them under a first-year head coach. They need to win Saturday because this might be the last chance anybody ever has to beat LSU in Death Valley this year. I've been very high on a potential dynasty brewing at LSU because it's such an easy job. Again, Ed Orgeron and Les Miles both won national championships there, and I don't think any of us believes anymore that either is that great of a coach.
No, I completely agree. The worst two coaches to win a national championship, in my opinion, in the history of football. They both just happen to be at the same school. That should tell you something right there. And yeah, those guys are great. They've been great to me, but that's just a fact. Jabari Small, I thought that Josh Heupel's comments were insightful in that he was the most physical he had been, ran behind his pads. That's a very good sign for Tennessee. He was a little nicked up at one point. It looks like he's comfortable, and we talk about all the weight that he's put on. He needs to be that type of physical runner, and I think he's the only option that Tennessee has right now.
Yeah, I agree. It was very underrated in the offseason when we talked about some developments of players, and it turned out that Jabari Small had put on 15 pounds. That I can't understate enough how big of a deal that was. And you saw it against Pittsburgh. Jabari Small had 2 1-yard touchdown runs and then a 3rd-and-1 conversion. He had another similar type of run against Florida that was not called a touchdown, but it was an obvious touchdown that was missed. So I agree. I think that Jabari Small is, particularly with Lynette Whitehead out for the year, was always going to be more crucial, and him getting healthy is a huge deal. You're right. I've been high on Jabari Small the whole time. I missed it. I actually thought he was going to push, some record-setting numbers this year with Jalen Wright dinged up early in the season. That hasn't happened, but I think Jabari Small is by far the most reliable running back Tennessee has.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see. You mentioned the early start. I think that is a monstrous advantage for Tennessee. And Cooper Mays, who is on our YouTube channel, you can check out that interview. He said that as far as those LSU fans, maybe they can't get that drunk by 11 a.m., which would be
That's nice.
time. Pretty good line by our guy Coop. So check that out on our YouTube channel. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share button right now. I know we have new viewers on, and only about 20% of our audience has actually hit that subscribe button. So we'd greatly appreciate it if you do that, because you'll get Chris Landry, the coach, breaking stuff down. You'll get Cooper Mays, you'll get Jacob Warren, and you'll get our daily show each and every day at 8:30 Off the Hook Sports. We'll be joined by Amanda LaFrada, and from time to time, Caleb Calhoun as well. So a lot going on. More coverage of the Vols at offthehooksports.com. But that's the latest. Tennessee with their press conference. Again, Cedric Tillman, available this week or not, we don't know, but did undergo the procedure. And typically that's about a month recovery. So it would put him about the middle of this month based off when he went out. We'll see. And like Caleb said, I don't think there's a great reason to push him with what they have. So it's a presentation of Off the